And thanks for everyone for your flexibility in the reschedule on this one. With yesterday being end of quarter, as I'm sure you can imagine, lots of you were very busy. So we moved it to help you all focus on that. Today, we wanted to spend some time with you talking through some of what are called like features and enhancements at this point to your launched workflows. We know some feedback has been coming in from your sellers and your other stakeholders using the workflow, and we wanted to provide support to help frame those. Basically, moving forward, the process will be for any functional design changes or features and enhancements to the workflow for those to be submitted as requests through the LPX intake workflow. And there's a Slack channel that I'm sure they've introduced to you all, which is the way to intake those features and enhancement requests. But what we wanted to do today was talk through some of the feedback you've gotten and help you document the design changes so that you could put it through that intake process and get comfortable with that. Does that make sense? Okay. Jim, who's the right person to kind of walk through the prioritized feedback that you all have gotten, and we can kind of take them one by one?
Probably me. Let's see. Although I don't know if I've got it prioritized at the moment. Let's see. 1 second here. I mean, it's basically kind of what I sent you earlier. It's like what you'd want to go through. We're working right now and going through all the feedback we've gotten and like adding priorities and things to it. I gave you kind of a list.
Yeah, I can open that scope doc you sent me if everything's in there.
It is. It's not prioritized, but yeah, it's a pretty decent, I think, approach to the reviewing it. Get a good idea.
Okay. Let's start there and see if there's any easy ones for us to take a look at today. 1 second.
And some of this we've done, I guess, because we've looked at the like adding the bullets and things. And so some of those we've already kind of tackled, I believe. Mm-hmm. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything on here that we'd want to actually... Is the idea that we kind of go through and do a walkthrough at the moment? Is that the plan?
Yeah, especially if there's... So to the launched workflows, we should focus on those. Obviously, there's some stuff in here that would be build work to the workflows. But for what's already launched, let's take a look at proposed changes to those, and then we can talk through how to document that change.
Okay, so one thing, I think, Ryan, I'm thinking about the approved subprocessors, the new subprocessors language. Sorry, I wasn't more prepared for this, but too much going on at the moment.
Okay.
Or better yet, Nuan, I know that you're working on the Portuguese right now. Would you want to go through just like that, just an example of it, not the full thing? And we don't have to spend the whole walkthrough on it, but maybe that'd be a good place to start. And then I'll get prepared because I want to look at how we update the approved subprocessor section, because basically what we've done is we've got some standardized language now in like the estimated start date. We've got standardized language that will allow us to remove that section in the workflow. And so that's what I would like to take a look at, but I need to get it pulled up here.
Sure. Yeah, Nuan, did you have any questions on the Portuguese changes you're making?
Yes, let me pull that up real quick too. Sorry, I was not prepared to. Hold on.
another question, Ed, is we found like an issue basically where now that we have the year-over-year pricing, that if we have a deal that's less than a year, it's still looking at it like it is a multi-year deal, which is fine. But the issue from like the SOW standpoint, it's fine. But basically, what's happening is that if I've got like a 15-week long project, when I'm on the estimate tool, I don't click a button that calculates the year-over-year cost, and price uplift, which is what we need on the Ironclad side in order to bring that in. So we're looking at ways to get the estimate inside Org 62 to automatically do those calculations, or like when you push to the opportunity that it fires it then, or it's see if we could fix the root there. But then it occurred to me last week that we may actually have already built the template for it, right? Because like before January or whenever the year-over-year pricing was ready, we had that old template in there that was looking for just looking at the roles, rates, and prices without the year-over-year part. So the API calls and like the table and everything, they already exist. And so my question is that would it be possible inside Ironclad, instead of building in some like additional things on the estimate side that is going to have system drag issues and things, would it be possible to recycle that table that we had before year-over-year pricing and use that if the duration is less than 52 weeks? Does that make sense?
It does. I'm going to tell you my take on it, which is you would be building a lot more complexity into Ironclad to handle that than it would take to handle that calculation on the Org 62 side. So the table that you're referencing from the early versions of the template before we did multi-year support, that's still there. It's just the year one table now. The problem is not with the table per se, or even with the filtering that we're using to get just year one values in that table. The problem is that year-over-year uplift has a bunch of ripple effects into other things like the time and expenses, the total calculation, etc. So to handle what you're describing, you'd have to build logic into Ironclad to receive two different sets of values with the mappings. So it would add a bunch of mappings and then do a bunch of logic to figure out if we only have these, but we didn't get these, we're in a less than 1 year scenario, etc. It would actually it would make the workflow very, very difficult to maintain, I think.
Got it.
The amount of logic, just sheer number of things you'd have to do, I think would dwarf whatever it would take to automate things on the Org 62 side.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I thought that may be the case, but I wanted to check before, because in my head, it's like non-technical head. I'm thinking like, okay, we've already got the template or the table built in that prior templates, then hey, we may be good to go already. But obviously it doesn't seem like that be the case. So, okay. All right.
It's technically possible. It's just because we'd only be getting certain types of data and be missing other things. It would just take a ton of logic to figure out, is this a viable less than 1 year scenario? And a whole bunch of other errors to check for. It would be a mess.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Okay. Thanks for that.
It's we're running into the same problem on our side of the house too, though. There's lots of logic to be built in our estimates, so we'll have to go back to them and figure out the lesser of two evils for sure. Thanks, though.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Katie, I have the Portuguese version open, so let me share my screen real quick. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
All right. So this is the version that we have, the updated version. So it's on a Word document, and
Milan,
yeah.
Is this the version from the workflow that you downloaded, or
No.
a different version?
It's a different version. This is the updated version from the Salesforce site.
Okay.
All right, so if I upload this version to UAT or dev, will that take care of I'm worried about the fields that are named here. Will that update the current version?
So I'm a little confused because I see the workflow fields in this document. Like, it looks like someone must have downloaded this document originally from the workflow, and then you made updates to it. And now, is it that your updates are done and you're wanting to replace the workflow doc?
Yes.
Okay. So what is it that's concerning you about the fields? Just that you haven't.
So if I upload this to the workflow right now, will that break anything, or will that replace all the fields and the conditions here? Because it's a download from the workflow, and then Jim, correct me if I'm wrong. So is this the English version that was converted, right? What we gave them?
Yeah, I think what they were supposed to do is they were supposed to take the Portuguese version and then just make the red lines to the current one out of Ironclad, and then update it.
So
I think what they actually did, I think, was that they took the English version and translated the entire thing again. So either way, I think it's okay. I think they just did more work for themselves, but that's kind of what we wanted to validate. And also just like, yeah, it's like, is there an easy way to validate this? Which I think there is. Is it just we upload this into Ironclad and then test to see if there are any tags that are broken? The one area where this is, I know it's going to get broken immediately, is the fact that I believe, actually, maybe you can verify this for me. Are there SLLs in this, or do they skip over that, or does it skip over that? Because if this doesn't include SLLs, it's going to throw a bunch of issues when we load it into Ironclad. Can you just scroll down to 2.2? Oh, maybe. Actually, no, I'm sure it does. It's 69 pages long. So, yeah, never mind. So I believe then we should be able, maybe we can load this in. So, yeah, sorry, Ed, I know you got your hand raised.
Well,
go ahead, Allison.
I'm just looking at the SLL section here, and it's 62 pages, but they deleted all of those. It looks like they're all crossed through in section 2.2.
Let me remove the markup so then it's clear. Okay, there you go.
Oh yeah, I thought maybe they were just deleting the first one because like the phase zero implementation services aren't a thing, so I thought they were just deleting that on purpose. But never mind. Okay, so yeah, there's obviously some cleanup, but like, given the situation, we're not going to break anything if we try loading it into Ironclad into demo, right? And then it'll throw a bunch of those flags up of why it doesn't work and what's wrong, or like, you know, where they're missing tags. In this case, it would probably throw hundreds because there's hundreds of SLLs missing. Is that accurate?
So I actually originally raised my hand about something else, but I think that's kind of a moot point now. So if I'm understanding correctly from what we're saying here, it looks like somebody downloaded the English version and retranslated it, except for the SLLs, which they deleted, and maybe some other things, but they basically retranslated it to Portuguese. Is that what?
That's my understanding as well. So we need to meet with that team to find out. But I think they were focused on it in the quarter, so we haven't had a chance to meet with them to find out for sure. But that's our understanding.
Yeah, realistically, that actually is going to be really hard. So to answer Nawan's original question, if you download a document from Ironclad and edit the document in Word and upload it back into Ironclad, as long as you haven't edited those tags, the bracketed text, Ironclad should be able to pick up all the tags again, pick up all your conditions again, and just keep rolling. So you don't have to go back and re-tag things.
Mm-hmm.
But that's if you're downloading document X and uploading as document X. If you download document X and try to upload it as document M, that is not going to work the same way. So for example, if you look in the first paragraph, standalone paragraph under 2.1, where it starts with the bracket and says summary of customers' goals, blah, 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 that little identifier there is unique and is one that would have come from the English version. It's not necessarily going to get picked up correctly. In fact, almost certainly not going to get picked up correctly if you upload this as Portuguese. In other words, if you replace the Portuguese template. Did that make sense so far?
Yes.
Yeah, so the short answer is, aside from the SLL thing, I think you actually may have a problem here where you can't really use this because it's effectively divorced from the Portuguese template that exists today. It's effectively a new template.
What I think might be better in order to incorporate their changes is to go to the Portuguese version of the template in the workflow, download it, and then compare these two side by sides and update the downloaded Portuguese version and then re-upload that, making sure not to break any of your tags in the Portuguese. But like, that's the correct way to do it.
This is the one that's on UAT right now. Okay.
Yeah.
So just download this and then
review it side by side to what the Portuguese team gave you.
Mm-hmm.
And update this downloaded version with their language changes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunately going to be somewhat manual, but if you were to just upload the one that you have right now, aside from losing the SLLs, I don't think it's going to pick up any of the tags. It'll pick up the conditions, but I don't think it'll pick up any of the tags probably. In fact, it might even break that you could actually get errors.
Yeah, I would say you probably don't want to be giving someone that's not trained as an admin in Ironclad the tagged version of the template document, just because they won't know all of those things about like not to delete certain tags or conditions in the doc.
Is there an easy way to do that? Like, is there a way to download the non-tagged version?
I would push back just a little bit there and say I do typically recommend that you give them the tagged version, but I recommend you do a compare before you just dump it into the system, because if they don't know what they're doing and they did delete a tag or break a tag, you want to be able to see that. It's actually, I think, easier than trying to give them a clean version. But if something like this happens, if they're editing effectively the wrong document or a different document, or if they do something strange to your tags or something, you are in a situation where unfortunately there's no way to avoid some manual kind of reconciliation work there.
Is there a way to like highlight the tags like in red or something to where it won't show up on the template, and it won't show up on the clean template? It won't affect the editor tool. But as we're working on these things, it may make it a little bit cleaner, especially on the translations, because we can't do them ourselves. We have to rely on our counterparts in the different regions to do it. Like that, it will make it a little more optically obvious to don't touch this area.
There's not anything in Ironclad that does that.
Even if we manually went, I'm not exactly advocating for this just yet, but like if we manually went through and like it just from bracket to bracket, like highlight it red or something.
I can send you a let me look at it. I think I can send you a little simple Slack that would explain how you could do it in Word, because Word can do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But let me double check.
Okay.
On that.
Yeah, because I wouldn't want to like highlight in red or whatever, and then like so when you're in the editor you can't see that, but then you start typing all of a sudden like backgrounds in red or something. But yeah, like it
wouldn't be in the editor, and I honestly I mean I just said I'd do this, but I'm going to push back a little bit and say I don't actually really recommend it, because then you have to remember to undo it, and it.
What do you mean to undo it? I mean more
highlighted it. I'm sorry.
I mean, like doing it permanently. So yeah, I wouldn't want to like do it on and off. Okay, gotcha.
The formatting applied to the tag is the formatting that applies to the data when you put the data in there. So I have seen people format the conditions, but I don't even recommend that unless it's like really big sections and like that condition there's nothing edited near it or anything. Because like, let's say you took that first line in black text there, where middle of the line you see that end if and if. Let's say we made that like bright blue or something, so it really popped on the page, like highlighted in yellow, whatever. That won't show up in your doc, but because of the way Word docs are structured, if you started typing right next to that in the doc, it could show up. It could end up getting highlighted or something. And it's just, it tends to create more problems than you solve, I think, with that kind of thing. You really just want to tell people don't edit between brackets and leave it at that. Does that make sense? Yeah, I wish I had a magic wand for you on that one, but I think that's going to be your better bet.
Okay, so I think for the most part, then I got good direction on these items. One thing is, as I'm getting into the demo account now, like, can we go ahead and delete these other things that we don't need? So if you go back to the workflow designer, look at the published workflows, and not delete, I should say archive, but so scroll down. Oh, never mind. What? So he has a different view than I do. Is that an issue? So on mine, I'm still seeing that we've got 13 of these published.
Environment, Jim.
Demo.ironcladapp.com.
Do you want to share your screen, Jim? I'll stop sharing.
You're in a different instance, Jim.
Oh.
You're in a web environment, most likely. Along the top, the way to tell is if the URL is just ironcladapp.com, that's our production environment, which for you guys, your UAT environment and your production environment live on that domain. All of your other environments live on our demo stack, which the URL is demo.ironcladapp.com. On the top right corner, there's a drop down on the environment name. And if you have access to more than one environment in a stack, that's where you would change the environment that you're on. So likely you're looking at dev.
Yeah, so I've got the non-production one in here now. I got rid of my demo, or I closed my demo account. But I don't have the workflow designer here, which I should. So is that what happened? Is that they removed my access to this inside UAT?
It would appear so, yeah. If you don't have workflow designer in your top nav, then you don't have admin access in this instance.
Really, really frustrating that they did that. Okay, I'll fight that with them again. Yeah, okay. Sorry, anyway. So, but that is the same environment that Nuwan was just showing, right? Is this correct? Okay, all right. Well, then that's the issue, and yeah, they need to fix it. Sorry. Okay. Well, I'm not going to be able to do any good then sharing my screen.
You want me to share my screen and you want to navigate it?
Honestly, I think at this point we kind of know what to do for the most part on these. The biggest thing is like, oh, good, Nicole, you are on. Nicole, we need to fix that. I certainly need, and probably Holly would need as well the access to download and update these things. So yeah. Let's see. I think the biggest thing for us now. Sorry, I got a nasty head cold, so like not very clear at the moment. But is what we need to do to get through these additional updates we need to make. Like what ticket do we need to submit? Because obviously it's going to have workflow impacts now. So while we understand, and I think we've got a pretty decent understanding about how to do that. I know we're not supposed to now. So I think it's more so on the BT side where we need to understand what steps we need to take and how we're going to work with that other team. Because I think that was part of this agenda too, wasn't it?
Yeah, we'll actually be covering the LPX intake process on our closing meeting that we have today. So we'll walk through it at that point too. But do you all have any questions about that right now that we could talk through, or do you want to save it for the discussion later when more BT is on?
No, I think we can save that for later than today. Ben, Holly, Nawan, I know that we had talked about a couple other things that we said we'd wait and chat with Ironclad about. I know a lot of it, I think it was around sorry, brain is not working correctly, but it was around the translations, but we just took a look at that. Was there anything else?
Download capability, what needs to be done there? We want to have and I don't know, Jim, if this is what you're talking about, but we want to have the ability to turn all users on for all users to download, just because of some of the, the editing piece and we don't have that, right? So is that easy? Is that something our BT team does or you guys do, or how does that work? And what are our next steps? I mean,